We're in.
Look at that.
Right. One watching now, which is us, which is this. Oh, cheers, mate.
Cheers, well done.
Oh, we need to turn that sound off.
Cheers, well done.
Right. Well, it's good to know that the sound was pretty good. That can go away.
Yeah.
Right. Do you want to intro it at all?
Well, welcome to Rob's flat for the top 14 finals day. Rob has adorned his interior with various bits of Bordeaux and Stade Toulouse stash.
We've cobbled it together. We've cobbled it together. Obviously, very low budget studio. This sharing a microphone, but we do have some stunning charcuterie. Keeping it pretty French. But yeah, let's dive into it, Rich. I think the big thing, Stade Toulouse versus Union Bordeaux-Bègles. We were saying earlier on in the week in our podcast that Bordeaux were up against it to kind of defeat this kind of champion team of Toulouse because of they were missing their best back and their best forward, and lo and behold, teams came out
Lazarus-esque
yesterday. I don't know what I don't like.
I can only assume there's a little bit of skullduggery, mind games going on there. Surely, Tamafuna had his arm in a sling like 2 days ago, which just can't have been legit.
I saw on Ben Tamafuna's Instagram, he had been tagged in a post by Siegfried Fissihoy, the Po and Tongan prop, who was taking a touchline conversion a la Ben Tamafuna and tagged Ben Tamafuna in. And Ben Tamafuna replied with, "Yeah, I'll do it with one arm." So, even responding to his mates on Instagram, he has kept up.
He's keeping up the ruse.
Kept up this lie, which was fantastic to see. The Jalabert one. What has happened there? I kind of think we'll turn on and
they're both not playing.
Kalashvili will be starting, and he's just they've done it to scare Toulouse at the last minute. But it makes a huge difference. I think we kind of said on Monday or Tuesday when we recorded our podcast that Ben Tamafuna, the kind of loss of him, though he's their best forward, is kind of mitigated by the fact that Toulouse will be without Cyril Bay, who's a key man for them, far and away France's best loose head prop. And yet he is definitely out because he's broken his leg, whereas Ben Tamafuna comes in an otherwise area of weakness for Bordeaux against Rodrigue Netti. So does that, for you, Rich, give them an advantage you didn't think they might have?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it all depends on how fit is he. If he wasn't fit a couple of days ago, but now is, you might think some of that scrummaging power is taken away slightly.
It's a shoulder as well, and he's got both shoulders in as a tight head. Yeah.
But I think at the very least you'd think it would give them parity. I don't think. We've said this before. I don't think either. It's probably the only area of not weakness, but the only area where you think Toulouse maybe don't quite have the dominance in generally as a squad is front rows in terms of raw scrummaging power. We know how good Malvaca and Marchand are. Cramon as well, third choice at hooker. We know how good Cyril Bay, but he's not playing, is in the loose. But you rarely see them, or at least this season, I think you rarely see them get a real hard nudge on teams. And you would think that's probably accentuated a little bit further, not just by not having Bay, but on the tight headlock side, not having 23 stone of Manny Meafu shoving.
Yeah.
I think at the very least, assuming Tamafuna is somewhere near his best, which obviously we'll find out about in about 20 minutes. Yeah, might give him a little edge, and I
I think the key thing is the other thing about Tameifuna is it could give them an edge at scrum time, but I think it's going to be so key for any team playing Toulouse to get on the front foot to an extent, or at least stop Toulouse getting on the front foot, or have some sort of parity in the loose kind of up front. And he's a brilliant ball carrier.
Yeah.
Really, really brilliant ball carrier. And he's also like very, very good at the breakdown, which if you've got him trying to slow ball down...
As is Poirot on the loose head.
Poirot's brilliant, and I think we saw the impact of not having Poirot in the Quins game.
Yeah.
He was out for quite a while, wasn't he? Middle of the season. I think Tameifuna is such a big impact round the park as well. Even if they only get 50 minutes out of him, even if it's only 40 minutes, if that keeps them in the game up until half time, or maybe gives them a lead going into half time, that we're seeing a different game to kind of what we thought, I think.
And I think actually you might be right. I feel like his impact, because you've got two teams you want to, are likely going to want to play quickly, like really clever tactical kicking games as well. It might actually be that biggest impact, and that kind of flip in momentum between him being available and Meafu not. Because I mean the hard carries kind of up the guts that you see from Meafu, offloading ability is phenomenal and gets him on the front foot so often. And he's obviously understandably a little bit more dynamic than Big Ben, but Tamefuna's got that in his locker, hasn't he? And there's going to be, regardless of whatever width the teams want to put on the ball, you would think that at some point that's going to come to the fore, and maybe having Ben Tameifuna just gives them a little bit more in that area.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, so we were obviously anticipating, we were told Jalibert out for the season, and maybe that was just regular season, or maybe that was maybe they didn't see them coming for the finals, but we were told Jalibert out, and we would have assumed Matteo Garcia slotting in at 10, who's a very capable 10, good all-round player, but we've seen from him that he needs, because he's a young fly half, he's 21, I think?
Yeah, 21.
Any young fly half kind of is always going to look much better on the front foot. With the lack of Meafu, and with Tameifuna in the side, you've got Tavita Tatafu, the number 8. Adam Coleman, we said, had a really good game last week. I mean, we can kind of see the footage now. Ben Tameifuna has no strapping on his shoulders whatsoever. So
Jalibert's got his air
clearly fine.
Jalibert's gone 2 buttons on the polo.
He does what he wants. He looks cool as shit, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
That looks quite heavily strapped though, that knee, I have to say. Are we kind of looking at a point where actually Bordeaux could get on the front foot time and time again during open play, or are we saying that Cross, Willis, and kind of the other guy, Flamont, who's the other back rower? Rumat. Are they going to be out there destructive, tackling, making a mess of the breakdown best, or do we think Bordeaux have a chance of getting on the front foot and then unleashing Jalibert and all that pace out wide? Where do you see it going in that respect?
Well, I think Toulouse are gonna get some traction out of their back row, aren't they? They're so high quality. They're so good on the floor. It's very unlikely that you would think any team, let alone Bordeaux or whoever play them, are going to get total ascendancy at the breakdown and not have instances where their ball gets slowed, and that will affect how they want to play. I think the fact that Jalibert's there and what he can do just gives them so many more options in terms of go forward. They're a fabulous side on the counter attack as well. We've seen, and when they've played well this year, we associate these amazing long range tries and their guys out wide, but they're actually a lot more pragmatic than I think perhaps given credit for. Like Luku's tactical kicking is and has been like immaculate in the last few weeks. That field position is going to be key. And then I think one where they will really look to strike, if we go back to, I feel like I always bring it up, it's probably my favourite game of rugby, maybe bar the Champions Cup final this year, the game that Bordeaux beat Toulouse at the Matmut Atlantic.
Yeah.
And one of the key differences in that was they only got half an hour of Dupont off the bench, who then changed things in very much in Toulouse's favour. But Bordeaux's ability to first phase strike moves off the line out, off the back of the scrum, and be so precise and so incisive with their movements. I think if they can get into those positions, then I see no reason. I think they'll go pretty hammer and tong and try and stretch the Toulouse fence as they did. But I wouldn't expect them maybe to be throwing it around quite as much. But I don't know. There's some pretty loose cats in that team.
I was thinking about it in terms of because Luku's boot has been massive over the last few weeks, and Jalibert has an enormous boot.
Yeah.
And Garcia kicks pretty long as well. So I was thinking, even before we knew about Jalibert, will they play that pragmatic style and push the guys back and push Toulouse into their own half and force them to play from deep, back their own defence? I think we saw in that game at the Matmut Atlantique back in, what was that, March, and
it was just after Six Nations,
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
We saw Bordeaux's defence was amazing, yeah. So I wonder if they will play that more long kicking game, because they've got better. I mean, they've got Kinghorn and Ramos in the Toulouse side, but we could be drawn into, as much as these two teams sparkle in attack, and they are both phenomenal. We could be looking at quite a tactical kicking game, I think, maybe, especially with Jalibert. How sharp is he going to be? We don't quite know. We weren't expecting him to play, so we've got no idea how match ready he is or anything like that. But he might not be good with kicking. We don't know if he's going to goal kick at this point. I would say generally his goal kicking is better than Luku's.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine, given the injury, that Luku will probably still do it. And a lot of the kicking responsibility generally may fall with Luku, and then Jalibert's just there to manage the game, attack when he sees space, run the show, run a bit of ball, because he's he's so quick, I think. When he's fit. I think it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how Bordeaux play this. I think Toulouse are so ingrained in their style that they will play from anywhere. I think if Dupont spots a space, that's when they'll kick. If Ramos spots a space, that's when they'll kick. But I think generally they will try and look to play. And Toulouse have gone, other than Cyril Bay, they've gone unchanged. I think it's Cost on the bench. No, Paul
Cost on the bench.
Is it? And Labelle.
And Labelle, yeah. I think that's spot on. So that means they're starting with Chocobares, I believe. Which is an interesting change, I think, in the last few weeks. I thought he was amazing in that high. You talk about like a selfless performance. Like, the bloke made about 400 tackles and was basically held together with like Pritt stick by the end of it.
Proper interesting, amazing tackle technique.
So Chocobar is at 13, and he started there last week as well, didn't he? But I mean, Koss has been. I mean, he's probably been the kind of standout. Well, not find, but in terms of the young guys coming through for Toulouse.
Well, him or Deporter, it's literally those are the two finds of the two of the big finds of the top 14 season.
He's brilliant. So it's an interesting. I don't know if it's a tactical thing. I don't know if it's like a form thing. Whether they feel Chocobares is. I thought Paul Koss got that kind of intrinsic sense of where.
Oh, no Labelle's Capuozzo
on the bench. So Labelle. So no Labelle at all.
No Labelle at all.
Kinghorn on the left wing.
Yeah, Mallier on the right wing.
On the right. Yeah. So it's an interesting one. I mean, it's such a high quality replacement. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference either way. And Koss off the bench is a brilliant option. Runs some lovely lines and just has that kind of little bit of magic, doesn't he? That's hard to put.
He's kind of I'd say he's a Conrad Smith type player. I think he kind of could get to that. I mean, if he wins 2 World Cups, fair play to him. But that kind of sort of wiry, style, but weirdly physical with that wiry figure.
Brilliant.
Great running lines. Great reader in defence. Yeah, he's that sort of style. And if you look at against Deporter, you would think that they would want that kind of bit more pace and bit of guile up against him, but they have gone with Chocobaras, who's the defender. Maybe they are a little bit worried about Bordeaux's attack. I don't know.
Yeah, and which is, I mean, it's understandable, isn't it? Like, we're looking at it there. Lucu, Jalibert, Bielbarré, Murfana, Depoter, Penaud, Buros. Like, Buros has been brilliant this year as well.
It's been really
very
classy.
Unlucky not to have made that Six Nations squad. I think that fullback's an interesting one actually, because we know how good Toma Ramos is, but there were, particularly if Bordeaux play a slightly more pragmatic game, he hasn't he's sometimes flattered to deceive, particularly recently a little bit under the high ball, and I wonder if that might be something they could see as the tiniest chink that they might be able to get after Kinghorn slightly out position on the wing.
Yeah, I mean, Bielbarré...
We're kind of, clutching at straws a little bit.
You're picking at the
0.3
out of the 10 out of 10, or the 9.7 out of 10 that Toulouse are. But, I mean, Penaud is wild, but he's going to kind of give it a go on the kick chase sort of thing. He's going to make a mess of it. Bielbarré is rapid, which is going to cause issues on kick chase, you'd think, for Ramos possibly. I mean, I think, Buros is relatively rock steady. He looked a little bit nervy, I think, last week. I think that's actually a big thing. Generally, Bordeaux have, as we saw against Harlequins and a little bit last week, they have looked a wee bit nervy at times on the bigger occasions. Yeah. This was their fourth semi-final, I think, in 4 in a row.
Yeah, possibly.
They were actually top of the league the year that it got cancelled for COVID after about 2/3 of the season. And this is only the first time they've made the final. So there's an element of, like, is this just a big occasion, and will they... Toulouse have 100% been there and done it, not only this season, but last couple of seasons as well. I wonder if the occasion might... Maybe that's why they've rushed Jalibert back.
Possibly. I think maybe... Slightly different occasion, though. Like, where they've maybe faltered a bit. Okay, Stade Francais finished above them in the league, but I think you would probably... I think we both did. Most commentators thought Bordeaux would win that. And it was obviously a bit squeakier than perhaps we'd anticipated. The Harlequins game, I think... No one gave Harlequins a chance, and that was a real missed opportunity for Bordeaux. Like, we know how good they are, but going into this, Toulouse are fairly firm favourites, and whether that in itself is not to say you just throw caution to the wind, but it feels like a slightly, slightly less aggressive form of pressure, perhaps. First final as well, so you're right. I haven't been there and done it before, but.
A lot of experience in that squad, though. Poirot, 31, Benton Mifuna's 31,
and
32.
They know...
They've gone DRB, slightly more experience instead of Boschton.
Yeah.
DRB, I think, has been brilliant this season as well.
Great, yeah.
I probably would have gone Boschton ahead of Verne. Pretty similar players, though, generally.
Have a big roll off the bench, though, won't he?
Yeah, and they'll use the rolling subs on that as well. Bring Tatafu maybe to come back on. So, I mean, we've got, 5 minutes till we're done, and then the kick-off's in about 9 minutes' time. Toulouse are favourites.
Yes.
How can Bordeaux win, and how can they win?
I think they can definitely win. Like, it's to say, it wasn't that long ago. They've done it already this year. Okay, different circumstances, but it's been done. They know, they know each other inside out. Ben Tamafuna there with the big Tongan flag as a cape as he comes
That's
onto
amazing.
the pitch.
Superhero.
Lovely touch. I think for them to win, it's going to be parity at set piece. I mean, we're talking kind of, this is all fairly typical stuff, but Toulouse's line-out's been brilliant as well, so they're going to need to, I think, disrupt that. I'd expect them to get parity at the scrum time, and that might allow them to set off some of those kind of phase moves that we're talking about. I think the key man, it feels like if Bordeaux are going to win this, it feels to me like Maxime Lucu is probably going to have his if not his best ever game. I don't think there's a huge amount of point in trying to compare the way he plays to Dupont, because Dupont's so outlandish, and we know that he's basically a bit of a freak. So I think
in any other era, if we went back 10 years, Maxime Lucu is
right
up there. Like if he was, he's probably better, or he's the same sort of player that we hold in high. Yashvili or something like that.
People like that. So I think everything, when Bordeaux have been good this year, it feels like it's all come through, and he's kind of held them together at points as well.
Yeah.
So I think he's the key man. If they can get parity at set piece,
they did a bit of damage to Stade Francais at Maul time last week.
Yeah,
who are a very good mauling team. So again, another area that Harlequins had a bit of change out of Bordeaux, Toulouse against
the
Maul time.
They did. And then you think at some point they're going to need to. There's going to have to be a little bit of stardust from somewhere, whether that's Bielbarré, Buros, Penaud. I think they're going to have to. Staying in the game, I don't think is going to be enough.
Yeah,
and trying to, not least.
Well, there's going to be a 14-point 5-10 minute period from Toulouse at some point. And that's what kind of Rob Baxter said. Is what the Quins coaches said. You've got to. It's just how much you get outside of that. And Leinster managed to shut it down, but generally, we know that Toulouse are going to come at you at some point, and Bordeaux's defence was up to it in the game that Matmut and Lantique earlier on in the season. Can they be up to it today with Toulouse at full strength, with Dupont there and Entomac back fit, Ramos back fit, because I think he kind of was slightly injured or just coming back from an injury in that game as well. So I think there's going to have to be some pretty stoical defence at some point from Bordeaux if they're going to win it. But the players have just walked out. We'll be back at half-time for some half-time analysis, some half-time thoughts. But in the meantime, enjoy. We're going to tuck into some cheese, some duck liver parfait, some saucisson, bit more wine out of our UBB cups. For neutrality purposes, we've managed to lose a Stade Toulousain cup. We don't know where that's gone. We were trying to be neutral. I'm not wearing any stash. But yeah, go and enjoy it, and we'll see you at half time. Thanks very much. Au revoir.
Au revoir.